RSS Pictures is தணிக்கைவேல் தயாரிப்பில் புதியவன் ராசையா இயக்கத்தில் ஒற்றை பனை மரம் நாளை முதல் உங்கள் அபிமான திரையரங்குகளில்.
குடும்பங்கள் கூடி கொண்டாடிட இந்த தீபாவளி உங்களுக்காக தி லெஜண்ட் நியூ சரவணா ஸ்டோர்ஸ் ஸ்ரீநகர் மற்றும் பாடி.
MadRabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.
First of all, I did not know it was called YOLO. In the beginning, when I got notification on my Insta for YOLO, I was like, what is YOLO? And then I go into it and I'm like, oh my god, this is the song. Yeah.
Hold me, hug me, kiss me, kill me, kadalale, just lock me. Take me, try me, trip me, trap me, I say, Allah, just rock me.
YOLO is like a life mantra of mine. I'm more of the live in the moment and try and get as many experiences as possible in this one lifetime.
You're also from Rahman sir's school. So one thing that you actually specifically learned from Rahman sir.
He's a legend in the world. He doesn't have to come and comment on somebody who's released their first song. I will never forget and I'm always grateful for. Two very important people in my life called me for a recording. One was DSP sir and one was Rahman sir. Both on the same day. But I messed up both those recordings so badly because
Hello everybody. Today we're in conversation with the newest talk of the town singer girl. How are you, Lavita?
I am good and thank you for the compliment.
Definitely well deserved, I would say, because everyone's talking about the newest release, the biggest release.
Yeah.
Kanguva and You Only Live Once song for Suriya sir and of course DSP sir. Lavita, tell me, how are you after the release? What's the reception looking like for you?
Right. I think I am beyond Cloud9 right now. And it was a surprise to me. I was back in my hometown and I did not know that the song had released. So, and the response is amazing. And first of all, I did not know it was called YOLO.
Okay.
I mean, it was there as a part of the song, but I think they were still deciding on the name. So, in the beginning, when I got notification on my Insta for YOLO, I was like, what is YOLO? And then I go into it and I'm like, oh my god, this is the song. Yeah.
But tell us, how did Lavita Lobo as a singer ended up being a part of this big film, Kanguva?
There's a rule with me. Whenever I go for any recording, I have this thing that I do not ask what film it is. I don't ask who are the actors. Unless they themselves tell me in conversation that this is for this movie or this is for this actor. I myself don't ask because I like to just focus on the song first and not get too overwhelmed. If I perhaps get to know it's a big person and then, you know, the pressure might build on me. So I don't like to ask. So I did not know it was Kanguva, first of all. I just knew it was a crazy party song, which I loved singing. And I was so happy while singing it. And I didn't want to spoil that. I didn't want to, you know, get too overwhelmed with it. So I was like, I was very happy. And yeah, and then later on, I got to know that it is for Kanguva and it's for Suriya sir and Disha. So I love keeping that as a surprise element for me.
But aren't you curious at all?
I do get curious, but no, I don't know. Somehow, I don't have an explanation for why I do that. That's just how I am.
But I'm so surprised and glad to know that aspect for whom you'd be singing doesn't bother you at all.
No, it doesn't.
It's amazing.
It doesn't.
But now that you've told us how you ended up being a part of this song, I also want to understand, how did you get this call and what did they actually tell you? When did you actually go to the studio for DSP sir and record? So what did that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my third song with DSP sir. And he was the person who gave me my first ever playback, which was in 2019. And so I can say he was the one who discovered me. You can say that. So they told me there's a song recording happening, and this was more than a year ago. And of course, me being me, I did not ask. I said, what time do you want me to come? They said, come now. And we started recording. And this was the song of my dreams. Like, I feel that this song like if you ask any singer, what kind of a song would you like to sing or what is the genre? This is the kind of song that I know will resonate with me and that I can do justice to. So this was that song. And it was such a fun process recording because obviously the lyrics were not completely ready yet then. We were just, building on the ideas. So going back and forth with Sir and Sir's enthusiasm overall, it all shows in the song. So, yeah.
Now that you've actually explained us how you ended up being a part of Kanguva for YOLO, I just want to rewind your journey a bit to understand where does Lavita come from and how you got into music in the first place.
I am from Mangalore, and this is something that I got to know recently. Apparently, my grandfather wanted his children to become musicians or singers back then. But since they were from a very remote place, the children could not really get into music or playback singing because back then you had to be in Bombay or something like that. And all of his kids were into sports.
Oh, okay.
So my parents thought that since they were not encouraged in sports, they were encouraged in music, and they did not really want to get into the music space. They wanted to get into sports. They thought their children automatically want to do sports. So my parents put me onto sports. They never thought I'm going to be a musician or anything like that. But somehow, surprisingly, I was more into music than sports. So I made that call very early on. My father basically wants me to be in Olympics and all of that. But I completely took a different turn. And now I realize why. It's perhaps my grandfather from up there. Yeah, blessing me. So, but I did take lessons in keyboard when I was a kid. So I was put into everything, all kinds of things. So sports, music, academics, anything and everything. So that's how I got introduced to music. And growing up, I was part of the church culture where I had to be a part of the choir. So I used to play the keys and also sing. So that's where my Western music journey began. But I never thought I would take it up as a profession. I thought I'll be a chartered accountant or something like that. And yeah, I feel this is destiny and this is meant to be. I landed up in Chennai because I wanted to take a break from work. So I thought I'll come here for a year. And that year has turned into 10 years, unknowingly. I never went back.
After your academics, what were you actually working as? I mean, what did you do? Did you end up becoming a CA? Are you a chartered accountant by any chance?
No. I am not. I am not. I gave up on that when I was in degree college itself because I used to be a part of a band back then. So I enjoyed singing part-time. And then I also used to host a lot of events. And after my degree college, I was a radio jock for a year, which was going really well as well. So I thought I'll get into the hosting space, or I'll become a TV anchor or a VJ or something like that. So my focus was completely onto that. And I thought I'll do music and singing as a part-time. Yeah. So then I took a break and I thought I'll come formally learn music because I wasn't formally trained in vocals. I wasn't trained in singing. I was trained in, playing the keyboards. So I thought, okay, let me give myself a chance. Let's see how this goes. So I came to KM, Music Conservatory. Yeah, I was all of 21 back then. I came for a year to Rahman Sir's Institute. And for the first time in my life, I felt like everything was coming together. And this is what I'm meant to do, which was a revelation back then. And till then, I did not know what path I'm going to take. I thought, TV and anchoring and all of that. So music was never on the forefront, but it came onto the forefront. And there was no looking back after that. There was not once I questioned why I took up music or why I took this decision.
So absolutely no regrets, only grateful.
No regrets at all. And after my first year, I was thinking of going back home to Mangalore. But then I ended up getting a scholarship at Rahman Sir School for Western Music. So I stayed back one more year. And then again, I got another scholarship for the other year. So I completed my course there and I stayed back.
But given the time and age that we actually live in, also with regards to the number of reality TV shows that we have in the country, there's so much competition, Lavita. There's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
People are not only singers today. They're all musicians. They're all producing music. They're all playing instruments. They're a package now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are one too. Tell me, what's the most challenging or most difficult aspect of being a singer or a musician per se?
Most difficult aspect, I would say, in the beginning, it has to be survival for a lot of people, especially if you don't have something to bank on in your formative years or in your first few years in the industry, because work might not be that rampant for you. So it's very important to have family support or financial support also in that sense, I think. And once, of course, you are a part of it, then there's a good workflow once you have your network and everything. So then it gets better. But I think in the initial years, that's the biggest struggle. And that's when people decide not to do it, unfortunately. Although their heart and soul, everything is in music, because I feel music is a calling. So once it calls you, it never goes out of you. So you have that as a part of you throughout your life. And it's so unfortunate that some people have to, put that on the back burner just for these reasons. Yeah. So I think if you have support, then it's a great thing.
I'm not too sure if you still consider yourself as being out there kind of a playback singer. Tell me about that. Do you actually consider yourself that way?
I wear multiple hats when it comes to music. I don't only do playback singing. I have my band as well, and I produce as well. So in the beginning, when I started, I used to do a lot of background score work, and that's how I think I got introduced to the industry also. So I did a lot of that. I used to hustle like anything. I used to do about 4 shows a week. So I was literally everywhere, trying to get to know people, trying to gather experience for myself. That was my main goal, because I wanted to understand what this is about. Because being a musician, being a singer is very different from actually getting work and the business side of it. That's a completely different ball game. Of course, there are tons of people who have talent, but not necessarily that they want to go out and be a performer or be a playback singer. A lot of people do it for themselves, but I wanted to have both. Yeah. So I wanted to be out there. I wanted to show the world that, hey, I exist. This is me. This is my voice. This is my music. So I wanted to gain as much experience as possible in the initial years. So I took up everything that came my way. And I was happy doing that. I think more than anything, I enjoyed the journey. And I knew that if you're really enjoying yourself, then it resonates with people also. And then everything else is inevitable. So you are going to get to where you need to get if you are having a good time.
So you've worked with Rahman sir, Sam CS, Justin Prabhakar and Taman. All these musicians are composers who people actually want to work with. Right. Even meeting them for once is like a dream come true for them, right? Even for me, for that matter. Right. You've worked with all of them. Big star of films, big budgeted films, beautiful songs, chatbusters. It's very easy to get carried away. Tell me, what's one thing that keeps you rooted, that always grounds you? Lavita, you are this, be this. Don't fly. What's that one thing?
Yeah, there was a meme circulating on Instagram very recently where most of us who are into the space, where we are performers and we have, say, 1,000 or even 10,000 people in front of us and we're performing in front of them. And then the drive back home is absolutely lonely. So that kind of resonated with all of us in the space, because that's the reality. We are, in the public eye only for those many hours. So you feel absolutely high for those few hours, and then it's a downfall once you go home. You go home to your people, to your true friends, to your family, who make you realize you're absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I think for me, my grounding force is my family, for sure. And because I am me, I am the same old little girl who was a nobody back then, who was just a child. So I think going back into that and being around my family is the grounding force.
And is there any musician that you would love to work with?
I think I do want to work more with DSP sir also, a little bit more with Rahman sir as well. And I haven't worked with Anirudh yet. So let's hope that happens.
Fingers and toes crossed for
Yeah.
that. Tell me, what's the independent original releases looking like for you?
I have big plans when it comes to original music.
What are these big
So the thing about me is I'm kind of a walking, talking paradox. I love having, I love being in the commercial space, and at the same time, I love being an introvert who does music for herself. So I'm in that dilemma currently because the playback singing and the industry work that I do is outright commercial. There's no two ways about it. So I'm trying to figure out if the indie space is something I want to be about me as a person, or do I want to take it in the commercial angle? So I'm in that dilemma. But so far, whatever I've been doing, if you listen to my indie stuff and the kind of things that I produce, I've been doing it for me. Which I really like, and I'm enjoying that as of now. So I'm going to continue doing that because it fills my heart. And I feel indie music and expressing yourself through music, through words, through my own tune gives me purpose, gives my life a lot of depth. So I feel that's the end goal for me, being in that space. But I'm never going to leave this playback and commercial and the band side that I have. I'm never going to leave that, but I also want to, try and balance both at some point.
Having worked with all of these superstar musicians, what's one thing that you learned from each of them, if I may ask you?
I learned so much. So generally when I meet all of these superstars, I become a sponge. I'm just, observing them and soaking in their aura. Is something I noticed about all of them consistently is that they are such wonderful humans. Whatever is shown outside or whatever people might perceive about them, personally, they are all heart. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that I've learned with them. And they have all reached the pinnacle of success long, long ago, and they have been sustaining there by being so grounded. It's amazing to see how humble and grounded all of these people are. I don't know how they do it. I would love to know what their secret is, but they're so centered. I think that's what I learned from them.
You're also from Rahman sir's school. So one thing that you actually specifically learned from Rahman sir?
I have had a lot of interactions with Rahman sir personally also. And what I learned from him is that he is a giver. So when he meets you, he tries to understand what is it that he can, do for you more than what he can take for himself, right? And that's the beauty about him. And you just have a few interactions with him and he realizes what your strengths are. Even before I became a producer, even before I knew that I can do my own music and produce, I had one interaction with him. He looked at me and he said, you should produce. And I did not know that back then. I went back home and I spoke to my family. I said, sir told me that I should be a producer. And I don't think I should be. I don't know why he said that. And I left that. I left that thought. I let it go. And eventually I became a producer, as in I started producing my own music. And then I was like, how did he see that in me before I knew about it? And he was the first one who encouraged me. When I released my first song, his was one of the first comments that came on my Instagram. And I was so surprised by his humility because in the composing space, he has been here for years and he's a legend in the world. He doesn't have to come and comment on somebody who's released their first song, who's just trying out something. And that nature of his is something that I will never forget and I'm always grateful for.
Gives me goosebumps to know that he commented on your first indie.
Yeah, I couldn't
Beautiful.
sleep that night.
You better not. Now DSP.
DSP sir is, shall I say, he's a godfather figure for me. Yeah, absolutely. So there was this one time, I don't think even he remembers it. I had already done 2 songs for him. And he had called me for another one. And I had just recovered from COVID. And that was the day 2 very important people in my life called me for a recording. One was DSP sir, one was Rahman sir. Both on the same day.
What are you saying?
And that was the day I just recovered from COVID. I had lost my voice completely. Of course, the fever was gone and the COVID was down. But I could not speak. I was like completely nasal. And I thought I lost my singing voice because it had changed for some time. And I was so upset that both my idols called me on that day to record something. I mean, of course, in hindsight, it was a scratch for both of them, scratch singing. It was not like a final song or anything like that. But I messed up both those recordings so badly because I was unwell. And I went back home and I told my family, I am not going to be called back again, ever. I think I messed up so bad and this is the end. I am not going to get any call from DSP sir anymore. Rahman sir is going to forget about me. The most gracious part for me was that after that, both of them did call me. They understood that, you know, it was a one-off thing and I was unwell and they still saw potential in me and I am so, so grateful for that. Because that could have been my last.
It's been lovely, lovely talking to you, Lavita, and so many more songs, so much more music your way. But if you have to tell all your fans, all your audiences out there, one thing about YOLO and Kanguva and the song, what would that be?
I think YOLO is like a life mantra of mine. I'm more of the live in the moment and try and get as many experiences as possible in this one lifetime. So it's kind of my mantra. So I think everybody should incorporate that as their mantra also. And it's a fun song. So I think everybody should vibe to it. The beats are amazing. I was telling DSP sir the other day, like absolutely nailed it with the beats. And it's such a party song. It's such a banger. So I think everyone should be playing it at their parties or, you know, vibe to that song. And all the best to the entire team of Kanguva, Suriya sir, Disha, Bobby, all of them. So,
Lavita, if I may please ask you to sing a few lines of YOLO for all of us.
of course, of course.
Go for it.
Hold me, hug me, kiss me, kill me, kadalale, just lock me. Take me, try me, trip me, trap me, I say, just rock me. Sunrise beachile, shadow sera nadakalam, moonlightla inanju nananju muttam techu kulikalam. Ta-da-da-da-da-da-da, 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 YOLO, you only live once. YOLO, you've got to do tons.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
RSS Pictures is தணிக்கைவேல் தயாரிப்பில் புதியவன் ராசையா இயக்கத்தில் ஒற்றை பனைமரம் நாளை முதல் உங்கள் அபிமான திரையரங்குகளில்.
குடும்பங்கள் கூடி கொண்டாடிட இந்த தீபாவளி உங்களுக்காக தி லெஜண்ட் நியூ சரவணா ஸ்டோர்ஸ் ஸ்ரீநகர் மற்றும் பாடி.
MadRabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.